Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. I wake up with 97k Bitcoin. Just November candle is almost 31,000 candles from high to low. And finally on the 4 hour, we're starting to see some sense on the breakout. But we do need to cover what's going on here with the open interest getting into the golden ratio of 1618. And we do need to talk about the remaining liquidity in the long term. And gosh, the selling wall at 100k has done something that Bitcoin has never done in the history. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I put out one of these videos. Yesterday's morning video got more than 500 likes, and I believe that is thanks to your support for shorter updates. In the afternoon, I published a video about the cycle top potentially being 105k just purely based on a single indicator. This is just a fun discussion which we are gonna continue following up in the next days, and in this video I'll give you an update today because we are millimeters away from touching that resistance. Guys, yesterday I added Ganium to the list of Black Friday deals that we are currently tracking, which ones are the best ones out there in crypto. If you go to the description, the top link is tracking all of them, and we got two in here with 70% off. Do not miss those deals. These are gonna give you access to all the tools, particularly my favorite ones. As you can see, we have 37%, almost 38% for the candle of November, which starts to be in line with performances at this time in the market in 2020 and in 2016, which at some point we see these very large green candles in a month. Of course, expectations are that volatility is shrinking with time thanks to the increased market cap that we are seeing on Bitcoin. So I have to say I'm a little bit shocked with a 37% candle at this point in the market. But in February we have 43% to be fair. We have 3 days in a row of inflows on the ETFs on Bitcoin, putting a new all-time high in terms of total cumulative flow. Finally, yesterday we were doing still a lower high. And interestingly, after yesterday putting new all-time highs, I was expecting to see the fear and greed index over 90, possibly 92, 93, and it's still showing 82. So maybe this hasn't been updated, but it's funny to see that the price goes higher and the index goes lower. Why is that? The daily MACD has opened up once again the mouth thanks to 4 days of candles in a row in green, and it stopped printing light green. Now we have a darker green, which typically happens when we still have a little bit more steam to keep pushing higher, like we can see in this area in here, or in this top in there. We were also coming back down in the light green, and eventually we put a darker green, preventing again the cross from happening. We have another push up, and then finally we made it back into the red. It's just an observation, not necessarily any official forecast. You can see that after all the weirdness that we have in here of just going sideways in the RSI for 31 bars, zigzag between 52 and 60, really crazy. Eventually we pinch on it, we put a higher low, and we started exiting from the top. At the moment we have support roughly at 61, 62 RSI on the 4 hour, and if that is broken, potentially we could be heading into the final support at 38. At the top we have a bullish target of 87. That is the most aggressive target. Somewhere in the middle we could call for a more conservative one at 78. So let's have a look at those values in the price. I'm tracking the support at 63, and you can see that that is located at 95.5, in line with this fair value gap in here. Price could continue printing new candles 4 hour and eventually hitting that support. If we take longer to do that, the support will follow the price going higher as well. Bear in mind that. Yesterday we highlight this butterfly harmonic pattern, saying that at this point of 95 we should be seeing pullback. Partially disappointing because we saw a pullback, but the pullback was pretty small. From 95 it went back to 93, so just a less than 2k pullback, but still there was a pullback. Typically the butterfly should have gone at the very least to half the high of the right wing, which is a 4k pullback. But still, if you were riding the breakout with a very tight stop loss, I hope that you were aware that at 95 we were going to have some turmoil thanks to that pattern. The red line in here is now representing the RSI of 38, which is on the RSI, that final line in the sand in case we broke below support and we started coming back down. In terms of the bullish target, you can see that the 87 is pretty far away, but is very fastly coming down. So at the moment it's pointing at 110, but if we start taking long and pushing higher, eventually that RSI 87 could meet up with the price potentially somewhere at around 105 or anywhere but less than 110. In order for that target to go higher, and instead of coming down, the target go higher and get to the 120. If you think that the local top could be nowhere below 110, that is still possible. But in order for the RSI to start printing higher values, the price needs to take a dip. During that dip, the RSI will point up and allow for a higher target. That's the way RSI works. Now going into the daily, you can see that we are still working with this channel. We've been working from pretty much August to the upside like this. We went into the resistance of 86. That was our resistance. We track in the past year how many times we were at those tops, and we call for 86 to be the top of the daily RSI. So far, that has been correct. It can break, of course, but my thesis is that it's very low likely at this point in time. If Bitcoin could get to 150k, that is still doable, respecting my thesis, because this could be resistance. RSI comes back down, cools down, resets, and by the time it comes back up, this time to just 84, we could be at 150k. And if RSI instead goes back down and resets at 31, we could be a pretty big correction too. So where are we now? Well, I have to move the resistance. Interestingly, we are getting to a point where the top connects with the second top in there and meets with where we are, which is 81 RSI. That is back again above the top range, which we already lost. I'm not sure if today we are going to be able to close there. That will be extremely bullish. If we do that, I will start thinking that we can get back into 86 and maybe touch it, test it once again as resistance. I'll tell you the prices we can get if we do so, because that could be really bullish. If instead on the daily we end up closing below 80 and defining that as the resistance, then I'm gonna have to move this line here and have a confluence of resistance there from the ascending line and the descending one, and then we will build our channel coming back down like this, starting to fully cool down the RSI. Cooling down the RSI could come with the price coming down or maybe going up, putting bearish divergences. We will have to see that in the future, but that cool down puts the next all-time high way higher as well. That stands for the 4-hour, for the daily, for any time frame. That's just part of the nature of RSI. So I'm very interested to see how we hold today, whether we do it at 81, 82, 83 for a very bullish close and potential continuation to upside, or closing below 18, staying within the lower range or middle range, we could say, and continuing with my thesis of building a channel to the downside. Let's go into the price on the daily, and you can see that on the top, the RSI 81 resistance is practically where we are being held. We were slightly above it at 97.8k, but right now we are just there at 81, which is 97.2. The top target of 86, that ceiling that we have tested 3 times since August, is currently located at 105.9k. Lots of coincidence. I'm very well aware that I might be getting a little bit biased, but too many indicators giving me 105, but hey, that's the way we time this top as well at 73.5. So I'm gonna try to do my best to find where could we see that local top. Wish me luck, because it's extremely difficult and it's much more likely that I'm gonna get it wrong than right. But if I get lucky and I get it right 2 times in a row, I might write a book about how to top Bitcoin. And if not, it's fine. It's just fun. No need to get angry like in the comments in the video yesterday. This video got 2 or 3 dudes that were extremely pissed with my prediction of 105 being a local top. Sure, the video is called Cycle Top, and I get it. Sometimes my thumbnails are calling for that fire, and at the same time I quite enjoy when people have an emotional attachment with Bitcoin going higher. To me, it's all about making money in any direction, so I just cannot give an F whether Bitcoin goes to 150 or just 100. As long as I can continue trading another day, doing swing trading, I'm doing the same. Good. So let's look at this. I'm gonna remove my aggregated open interest. I don't remember when, in which video I mentioned this. I think it was probably in the live stream, but I did something crazy, which is to take this low in here from where we started the impulsive move into 73.5k in March, and I move it to the low at 49k. This is not price action, this is open interest, but it gives us an amazing view to take alpha because it perfectly oscillates during the past 8 months. We are looking for new alpha in a new range here at the top. And at the moment, the golden pocket Fibonacci 1618 is currently located, let's say, at 32.2 billion. I don't know how I did it yesterday, but it was pointing a little bit higher, maybe 32.7. I'll let you know if I do it better than this time. But you can see that we just tonight pinch above that, and we are now below that resistance. Whether we are going to break out and we're going to have to find another potential target where open interest is going to stop, I don't know. But these degens have gone 12 billions up in open interest with this breakout. That is just mind-blowing. This is aggregated from all exchanges, and you can find this information if you go to the website coinalyze.net and head down to Bitcoin and open interest, and you're gonna see what I'm seeing. The CBD on spot is picking up again, but not a higher high, and I see this as weakness of this current pump. We are not seeing what we saw from January to March where people were buying Bitcoin. At the moment, this is barely moving 5% up. This one in here moved 20% up. But interestingly, the candle, the monthly candle in here is a 31,000 candle up, whereas this candle in here in beginning of 2024 was barely less than 20k. And that means that this move in here, even though it's smaller, spot was providing very good fundamental strength for the bull flag to hold. Think about this. All the buying in spot that happened here wants futures to profit help the bull flag to remain strong. And even though eventually all got sold, going and putting a new lower low, my worry is that this move does not believe that much by buying spot. What we do have in our favor is the heavy accumulation and inflows from the ETFs. But why, if there's so much accumulation in here, the CBD on spot is not picking up any of that activity? Could it be that they already bought that spot and they have it somewhere stored and they bought it prior to all that demand, in which case some of that is already priced in? I don't know. I'm just showing you in here the evidence of a very low and humble move on spot CBD. No news from big whales in terms of depositing, nothing additionally bearish. We are still at the ratio of 1, which means that right now there's equivalent amount of withdrawals versus deposits. I will expect and hope that this comes back below so we can continue in accumulation and then support the idea that everybody's saying that we have to go way beyond 100k. At least when we went this high in 2023 multiple times, then we came back down to 0.5 to support the idea that spot was buying this and that we have to go even higher. On the other hand, if this starts going into levels of 2 or 1.5, I'm gonna shout like an hysterical person in our Telegram, Instagram, or Twitter, making sure that all of you guys are aware of the bad news. I have to say that it's been steadily selling out the long-term holders. In July, they were accumulating roughly 14.8k. You can see it as long-term holder supply, and then went up to 16.1k. So that's 1.3k that they accumulated up until these lows, and they were riding trading happily up until the breakout time. And then they started distributing on short-term holders. So far, they have distributed more than half of what they accumulated in July. That means that at the moment, the short-term holders are buying the RIP. They are trading it with futures primarily. So be very careful, because that can continue, can make you more money. The trend is your friend. Take advantage of that. But put a mental note that there is a ticking bomb, and eventually when long-term holders continue to sell, there is a sell. I don't know if that's going to happen within a month or within 4 months. But if we continue to see evidence of this distribution, and along with other indicators, we are going to be able to potentially put on the table a very strong thesis for, at the very least, a very important local top that people will be talking for months after. And yesterday in the live stream, someone mentioned the Bitcoin power law corridor from Capriol Investments. I believe this is the same creator of the hash ribbons, which is a pretty cool indicator, by the way. And we are today above the center line, which in March was what held the price below. I wasn't aware of this indicator that day, but you can see that we can go above it and potentially come back and respect the resistance, but not necessarily, because prior to that, that center line wasn't necessarily stopping the price. It's just something interesting to keep note. And I was saying yesterday that thanks to potentially the 95K selling wall that we were observing in the live stream, together with the butterfly pattern, we could see today lots of liquidations. So during the stream, we saw one, and then we got another of long liquidations, but I was wrong. I was expecting to see all of this in green today. But as I mentioned earlier, the pullback was just 2K from 95 to 93K, and that helped liquidating these two dudes. Right after that, it should back up straight away, liquidating shorts once again. And all of that thanks to the longer term liquidity that yesterday was all in red up until here. And now it's not red because I'm showing 64, but let's remove 64. And now we can see it in the same way we were seeing it yesterday. So now that is all gone, and liquidity is trying to hit the last bit of yellow in here that ends at 99K. At that point, we have a huge selling wall that I'm just going to show you. By the way, this target that I have here comes from this big candle there that I consider to be the pillar of the ascending triangle. That ends at 100K. And there's loads of elements that at the moment are aligning somewhere in here. So I'm keeping 1,000 eyes in this area to see what's going on. We are also interested to see if the longs are putting loads of risk here again. Because if we start seeing red at the bottom instead of at the top with this next move, or with the pullback to come up after, the interest could shift to the downside very quickly. And that can happen within the day. Make sure that you're following me on my social networks. They're all in the description, and I'll keep you updated. Notice as well yesterday that we were talking about the open interest being at the top of the band. We had some sort of reset, but it's been partial. The longs are in control still. So yes, we came down after that. We reduced the open interest 3.8K, 4% relative to the 4-hour time frame. But immediately after, we are coming back again to test that top, but now putting a low. So that's also interesting. Liquidations from long are nothing compared to the shorts that got liquidated on the 6th of November eventually, and probably is going to be a day that you're going to feel pretty bad, but eventually we're going to get a line like this. I'm just going to keep it there, and we're going to compare it in the next few days to see if the forecast of amount of liquidations is going to respect my expectations. Order book is being prepared here at 100K, but interestingly, in the last few hours, they have removed liquidity, which now has me really scratching my head, because according to FIRE charts, it's showing that the liquidity is increasing, but on Trading Light is giving me different information. It's telling me that this is decreasing, just like it decreasing here, when yesterday I was mentioning in Telegram that we are removing out of the way some of that resistance, and that the shorts are panicking, and that we could potentially break above 94, 95, 96. We still have the support at 85, but that 100K in here is going away. Very interesting. On fire charts, we see the opposite. We can see that this is becoming the most light it's been, leaving the one before that we have in here that used to be 185 million. So roll the drums, because we have a new all-time high in selling wall for Bitcoin at 100K, 99.88 to be precise, and it's 218 million. That is just incredible selling pressure, but we will have to see this very close because it seems to be more thin. According to trading light, according to fire charts, is more. So let's keep an eye on that. We have new fair value gaps below the price, spanning all the way to 92.2. That's low-hanging fruit for a pullback. I'm much more interested with what's going to happen with the fair value gaps from 85 and below. Are we going to leave them behind and continue higher? Or we're going to see a major correction that comes and takes some of what we have in here on top of the table. The delta has made it now to 700K, still below 1.6 million from last week. And now focusing on the bid versus ask, you can see what I meant yesterday with the ask being so high in here, breaking out. We have support for that 2% going down. Now we have the same thing at 97.7. You can see that this ask is becoming larger than the one that made 2%. So you get more limit orders above the price wanting to sell, and you're getting very close to that 100K with 200 million in resistance. So two outcomes can happen, and I'm gonna keep it very short, guys, because this information needs to go out as soon as possible. That 200 million might be just manipulation, and we might get into 105, into 110, into 120. That's possible. Don't assume that that wall is there not to be broken. At some point, some walls produce a psychological effect and the price doesn't even get there. We rarely see above 100 million actually being executed. Either it holds there and it spooks the market and people sell before that, or it gets into it and it breaks it. So be aware that the outcomes can be very different. We are well above the top third resistance of the CPR monthly for November, which is extremely bullish for what's to come. And Nvidia yesterday had a pretty good day. It wanted to really sell out, but it got bought up and it went back almost to the previous candle. So it was supposed to be a sell the news, but so far it's holding right there. And on the weekly, it looks like a pretty big candle, still not putting a new all-time high. That is important because that's definitely taking a big chunk of the S&P and the Nasdaq, influencing what happens with everything else. People are asking what's going on with the with the altcoins, and they are at altcoin season 33. That's because Bitcoin is pumping. That's a common effect during a pump, that the alts stay behind. But the fact that they are underperforming so much is kind of concerning me a little bit. I will expect that with each and every stop in the price of Bitcoin higher, then the altcoins start to catch up. But they are very cautious at the moment, the altcoins. They're acting in a very cautious way. Let's go back to my video yesterday, the forecast of 105K. This is the last thing I want to cover, probably the most important. Since 2011, we have never broken above this trend line from my indicator. Go and watch the video to find access to it. It's for free, and you can also copy the chart, and you can see that now we have just 0.4 away from that trend line, 0.3, 0.4 at different times. In March, 4th of March, at some point, the live candle weekly was touching the trend line, and then it retraced back to 0.44. But at some point, we were at 0.47, if I recall properly. Watch my video. In 2021, we touched it in here on the first stop of the market. So what can happen in here is that somewhere in here we see a correction. That is the most likely outcome. It's not guaranteed. We might break out as well. So be well aware of that. Don't treat this as the Holy Spirit or whatever. This is just trading, just technical analysis. Don't overestimate it, okay? So if we see a rejection there, which is the most likely scenario, this is going to allow the oscillator to cool down. And if we get lucky, and if we cool down somewhere in the middle, we can come back later in 2025 and hit it once again. That comeback in 2021 put a new all-time high, and it didn't even get that close to the top once again. So this top, I don't know if it's going to be the full cycle top. What I know is that Bitcoin has never broken above it, and it can provide a tough resistance. Can we break the resistance? Possibly. This time could be the first time. I'm not going to bet on that. I'm just going to look at it and start looking for evidence from different sources to support the idea that we are either going to break it or not. But it is a very important point of attention. Ignore it at your own risk and do not overreact just by seeing this, because a single indicator has never been right. It's always a confluence. Guys, if you want to trade Bitcoin, altcoins, run your bots, I personally use Bybit. If you use the link in the description to open a new account on Bybit, you can claim up to 30,000 in rewards and have the lowest fees to trade as well. And today, guys, today is the last day that I can offer you this deposit bonus. Bluffin is currently my favorite exchange that doesn't need KYC. No need for VPN. You can use it from anywhere in the world. It's got an iOS app, an Android app, and I still have allocations, guys, left today to sign up. You can open as many accounts as you want, but use the link in the description, because even if you deposit only $100, they're gonna deposit you a bonus on the futures account. Go on and take advantage of that. And don't forget the link at the top of the description of the Black Friday deals that I made a summary page for you guys. These are the best ones. TradingView 50%. This is not correct. I read yesterday that on the 24th they are starting with it, and it's gonna be 70% plus 1 month free. So make sure that you wait until the 24th to get TradingView access. TradingView is a must in my opinion, and with a 70% for the full year is a no-brainer. Trading Different for the liquidity pools, they have pretty big discounts. Go on and click activate to see them. On the Trading Parrot, 40% discounts. I will recommend that you go with the VIP we call. Get your yearly 40% discount if you want to learn about trading bots and talk to me on a call privately once a month. That's the way to go. We can also use that to help you setting up indicators, setups, discuss about your questions, and indeed get a VIP experience. Hivelock Capital 70% off, and now Genium, this is a new one. Trading bots, very advanced, being able to backtest on the 1 minute time frame, 10 years, and then execute it straight away. 70% off all November. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.